Hi there, it's Michelle from CNC Designs. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in New Zealand. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to make a large box using 12 by 12 inch cardstock. And I'll also be showing you how to make this fabulous large bow, which is using products from the new Stampin' Up! Mini catalog on page 39. It's Take a Bow bundle. So there's cardstock and dies that come in this bundle to make the bow that's shown on top of here. And I'll be showcasing the new two-tone cardstock from Stampin' Up, which is two different colors on the same cardstock. So this is the garden green. So one side is the normal garden green color, and the other side is a shade lighter. This cardstock is actually, I wouldn't say printed, sprayed, I think. The color is sprayed on a white inner core, so that actually allows white to come through if you sand on it. So I'm going to be showing you that as well. Now, these boxes are quite special because they just look like rather large box. It's actually 4 inches by 4 inches square, the box is. But when you take the top off of it, let me move those out of the way. There's a bit of a surprise. It pops open. So you don't actually glue the box shut. It pops open, and then you can decorate the inside of the box. So you could put special things in there, photos. This could be like for memory keeping or a special gift for someone. At the end of the video, I will show you some samples of other boxes I've already done and how the insides have been decorated. But this video is just going to show you how to create this box with the lid and the bow, as well as the special technique on the sides. So this is just showing you, this is real red, and this is the garden green, and it's got the two tones showing there. This one I did it all in the same tone, all the same side. And here's another one that's done in the real red. This one is using a different embossing folder, the snowflakes. This embossing folder here is Forever Plaid. I'll be using that in today's video. And then here's a garden green one with the two tones. So we've got the darker normal garden green color there, and the box itself is the lighter shade. So let's get started. I'll tell you exactly how to cut and score all the bits for your box, as well as the bow. So we're going to be using products from the Take a Bow bundle, which is on page 39, as I said. It's a bundle different than normal ones, because most bundles with Stampin' Up! Come with a stamp set and die, a matching die, or a matching punch. But this one has no stamping. It's just the designer series paper, which is 6 by 6 inch sheets, and the die. So this is what the die looks like. It's a very large die. It's Take a Bow die. So this die allows you to cut 6 strips of cardstock quickly, and you can do it on a 6 by 6 inch piece of paper or cardstock. And the designer series paper, this is it here. So it's a pack of 48, so you get 48 sheets, and there's only 4 double-sided designs. So you've got these designs on one side. So we got some stripes, some lines, dots, and this is leaves and like berries. And then the other side, it's more of a solid look. So we've got a lot of interesting colors there. The colors in this pack are Granny Apple Green, Garden Green, Real Red, and then the basic white in the background. So that's the different sheets, and they're all 6 by 6 inches already, which is perfect size for this die. So what you need to create this box, let me just put these aside, is you need 1.5 sheets of 12 by 12 cardstock. So it's kind of hard to show the whole cardstock there. I'm going to use the two-tone real red cardstock. And before I forget, in the description below, I will put down all the products that I'm showing you today with their product codes. So if you want to order any of them, contact your Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and you've got the product codes, you can tell them. Or if you don't have a demonstrator and you live in New Zealand, you can go to my website, michellekritchley.stampinup.net, and contact me through there, order directly, or you can contact me for more information. So this is the real red. So that is the darker side. And that's the lighter one, which isn't that obvious. So you need 1.5 sheets. So that's 12 by 12 inch. And then I cut one of the pieces in half. So it's 6 inches here, 12 inches long. And so there you might be able to see better the difference in the tone. So this is real red, and that's a shade lighter. You will also need one piece of 6 by 6 inch designer series paper. So I've chose this paper here. So we got the stripes there, but I'm going to make this the outer side because I've already got a bow with the lovely candy cane stripes. And you will need 4 3.5 by 3.5 square pieces of cardstock. Now the reason I'm mentioning the inches, normally I would talk in metric here in New Zealand. But because we're starting with the 12 by 12 inch cardstock and the tools I'm using actually have the inches on them, which they're all from Stampin' Up, it's easier to measure that way than to measure in the millimeters or centimeters. And I might mention those measurements as we go through. So to get started, we need to score the 12 by 12 at 4-inch intervals. So bring out your trimmer. It's got the darker marker for trimming. That's got the blade. We don't want to use that. We want to use the lighter gray, which is the scoring tool. And we want to score each side at 4 inches. So we'll just slide it over to 4 inches. Now if you have this trimmer, let me just show you the Stampin' Up! Trimmer. So it actually has metric and imperial measurements. So we've got the centimeters at the top and we've got the inches at the bottom. So this is actually roughly 10.15 centimeters equals 4 inches. But it's easier just to go to the 4-inch line here. Basically, I'm going to be making 9 squares on this cardstock here. So the two-tone cardstock is thinner than the regular cardstock from Stampin' Up, so you don't want to press too hard because you don't want to go right through with your scoring tool, and make sure you are using the gray scoring tool. So I'm just doing 4 inches, turning it, and doing another 4 inches to score it. So I'm going to do all 4 sides. And it might not be that easy to see because of the paper, but you'll notice when I fold it. So there's my score lines. So I've now got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 sections on the big piece. Now the piece I've already cut in half, I want to have 2 6-inch square pieces. So it's already 6 inches there and it's 12 inches long. So I'm going to slide it in, and this time I'm going to use my cutting blade and make a 6-inch section. So now I have 2 6-inch pieces. One of them I'm going to use for the lid, and one of them I'm going to use for the panels that are going to go on the white pieces. Now these are 3.5 inches square. Hopefully I said that right earlier. So they're 3.5 inches square, which is 1/2 inch smaller than the sides of the boxes are going to be. So now I need 4 3-inch squares to fit onto each of the white sections. So this is 6 inches square, so basically I'm just going to cut it into 4s. So we'll measure it 3, cut, and then I can simply put the 2 together because this cutter can cut more than one sheet. So I put the 2 6 by 3 inch pieces together, And I'm going to cut them again at 3 to give me 4 pieces. Now I haven't decided whether I'm going to go with the dark side or the light side yet, but remember they are two-tone. Now while I've got the trimmer out, I'm going to prepare the lid. Now the base of the box is going to be 4 inches square, but if normally you'd think to take the 6 inches minus 4 inches gives you 2 inches, and then you do 1 inch on either side. You'll score it that way. However, that will make it the exact same size as the base, and then the lid will be too tight to put on. So we want it to be slightly smaller than that. So I'm going to score each side at just under 1 inch. So on here, that's roughly 2.4 centimeters, and I believe it's 5/16 of an inch. But basically what I'm going to do is, I'll bring it up here for you to see, is I'm going to put it up to that line, just 1 line less than the number 1, which happens to be 2.4 centimeters. So I'm going to do all 4 sides, score that. This is the lid, the top of the box. Make sure it's nice and flat up the top. And I'm just making sure that I've got it straight. And again, we're scoring this. Just score it gently. Turn it around and score it gently again. And 3rd time. And a 4th time. Now we need to do some more score lines on the 12 by 12, but we need to have diagonals coming out from the edges. Now unfortunately I can't do that here on my trimmer because this ends up being too long for that. A couple ways you could get around that is if you were to fold the one side and then the other side in. So now I've just made it smaller. So now it's 8 by 8. Then you could slip it in there, slip it into your trimmer, put the point at the top of your trimmer, and you only want to go down to where the other 2 score lines meet. So you only want to score down this one section. So what you're doing is you put the point at the top, and then you have to have your score line going in the middle, the original score line. I'll bring it up close. Hopefully you can see this. So now we've got that score line and this score line coming, and where they meet you want to have that right in the middle there to score down. It's not that easy to see on the video. I don't think I pushed enough down. So there, I've got my score line. Now you can do that for all 4 sides, which is a bit fiddly. So what I've actually got is I've got my scoreboard from Stampin' Up. And you're probably thinking, okay, what are you going to do? Put that at an angle? I could do that, put that at an angle, and then just hopefully do it the right way. But you can buy a diagonal plate to go with your scoreboard. So I just popped the diagonal plate on there, and then I can just put my piece of cardstock up. And it comes with a stylus. We've got a fatter end and a skinny end there. So go to the corner, make sure the plate is pushed all the way up, and now we can just go from the corner straight down till we meet the other 2 score lines. So that's 4 inches down here, and there's a 4 inches on that side, so we can see. And then just turn it and do the next one. Straight down from the edge. Don't push too hard because you don't want to rip through the paper. Go down from the edge. I'm just sliding it back up gently to make sure that line is there. So I'm stopping right where the two 4-inch score lines meet. So now I've got those score lines. So if you don't have the scoreboard, you can try the other technique I showed you. But if you do have the scoreboard and don't have the diagonal, I think it's still available to purchase. It just makes it that much easier to do. All right, so the base of the box is quite easy. Simply fold on the score lines. Give it a bit of a burnish. Open up, fold on the score line. Burnish that. So you should have 4 straight folds. And the other thing I should have mentioned earlier is you need to decide whether you want the light outside, lighter color outside, or the darker color outside. I'm going with the light. If you folded it the wrong way, just fold it back over the other way if you want it to be the other color going out. So that's the dark and that's the light. Then you need to get your corners done. Because we scored them, it should be fairly easy. So what you want to do is flatten one side and then just gently pull it back, and it should naturally fold onto where that score line was. And that will give you the diagonal for the inside of the box. And just burnish that. So you can go that way, or if you are this way inclined, you can turn it around that way. So all I did was hold that down, and as I push this back, it just naturally folds over where that line is. And that's the benefit of pre-scoring it, so we can just fold it back over. And the same. It doesn't really matter which direction your diagonal folds are going, because you can move them around quite easily afterwards. So that's 3 of them. And then holding this, that just pushes back on itself. See? And just get the bone folder in to burnish it. And now we have our box. So when you shut it, it doesn't matter if these bits overlap that way, or you could, you know, have them all going a separate way. It's all going to equal the same when it's closed. Those bits just sit inside. Okay? Now, the lid, we've already done all our scoring, so we're going to fold on the 4 sections. And again, you should decide whether you want to have the light color on the inside or the outside, and then fold toward the inside section. So this one, I'm going to do it a bit different. So I'm going to have the darker on the outside and the lighter on the inside. So I'm just going to do this one slightly different, just because I can. So once you have all those sides folded and burnished, get your snips. And this one, so the base you don't cut at all, but you do cut the lid. So you're going to cut up straight from one line on one side, and then you just want to do a little diagonal snip this on the tab, the part that is going to be glued under. So this just makes it so it sits better on your when you do your box. And then the other line, just snip it to the first score line. So you don't want to go past that score line. And then we're just going to take a little diagonal snip out of that side and a diagonal snip out of that side. And the reason we do that is because when you glue it together, if we left it straight and we glued it together and we had it at a different angle, here, I'll try to show you on this side before I cut the snips out. So we'll go up straight here. So when I glue the sides together, if I don't glue it quite right, it could stick up a bit. See that sticking up? And that's hard to snip off. So it's easier just to do a little diagonal now. And then if the edges don't fit perfectly straight on the corners, you won't notice. And then another straight up the score line. And then we're just going to do a little snip out the side. Okay, so that's the lid. So we're going to glue this lid together. And remember, it has to be slightly larger than the base. That's why we scored it the way we did. Now, the easiest way to stick it together, you would probably think, oh, put it on top, and then glue the sections together. But one, see, everything's popping out. And two, it's more flimsy on the top. So if you turn your box upside down, and we're going to use the base of the box to help us to create the lid. So pop your lid on the base, and you can put it sideways. And then I'm just going to put glue on the two tabs. Oh, it's not cooperating. There we go. I got one of my tabs stuck on the bottom. So while it's sitting there, you're just going to put glue on those two tabs. If I find my glue, there it is. Do you know you can unglue these, take the lids off with one hand? Just twist it. There we go. And then so a bit of glue onto the tab on each of them, because you're going to push it down at the same time. You don't want it too close to the edges because you don't want it to ooze out. But so holding the sides like that, you got your glue, you're just going to slide the top over and just hold it gently in place. Don't squish it. You don't want the bottom of the box to be squished open. You just want it to be nice and good shape. And when you have it the way you want, you can just slip that out. Oh. Just hold it for a second. Now the first two aren't as critical as the last two. And the reason I use the liquid glue is in case I need to adjust it. Now we'll turn it over and do the same thing on the other side. Now this side is the one that will definitely determine how tight your lid is. Okay. So I'm just gently holding the box shut, put the top down, hold it there for a little bit, get it the shape, and then if I slide it off, I can then just hold it in place. Okay. And let me just turn the box over and check that it fits without buckling my box. Because I could still adjust it if I need to. So look, got a nice flat side, no buckling. If I did it too tight, it would do something like that. So if this was too small, it would make the sides of the box buckle. But it looks good. So once you're happy with that, then you can come in and do a final burnish. And if you burnish it, slide it toward the inside. If you slide the other way, you might actually make your box bigger. You might slip it out. So I'm just burnishing that. So that's our lid to our box. Now, the other parts. On the outside of the box, you're going to put your panels. So I can go ahead and put all the white panels in the square sections. So those I cut 1/2 inch smaller. So that's a 4-inch square, and these are 3.5 inch squares. When I put it there, it leaves me a nice 1/4 inch area around the edges. So you could use liquid glue, you could use tear and tape, whatever you prefer. But for the video, normally I use tear and tape, but for the video I will use glue because it's quicker. And those just go into the 4 panels. Now this is the outside of the card. So make sure when you do this, you have the color scheme the way you want it to be. And you're going to put all 4 of those panels down. And the reason we've got these panels is we could do it where the color of the cardstock is this size, but 3.5 inches square would be using up more cardstock, and you'd have a odd section left over because of the fact that 3-inch squares perfectly cuts into a 6-inch piece, but 3.5-inch squares, you could do it, but you would end up with a bit of wastage on your 12 by 12 cardstock. And so the way to come up with a solution is just put some layers. So if you thought this was too much of a gap between the white and the red edges, you could just add another color cardstock behind it. And it also reinforces the box, because this cardstock is thinner than the normal Stampin' Up! Cardstock. This two-tone with the white core is thinner. So this just helps to give it a bit of depth and strength. So you could even do like 3 3/4 piece of cardstock in maybe green or black or something, whatever, and have that layer up there as well, and have a couple layers. All right, now this is the fun part, is doing our panels. So with the panels, I'm going to show you a technique to bring out the inner white core. So for this one, I'm going to use the Forever Plaid 3D embossing folder. And because it's such a large folder, see the size of this folder, I can do all 4 pieces in one go. Now with Stampin' Up! Folders, where it has the name Stampin' Up!, which is usually the top of the folder, that is going to be the section that's going to be raised up. The other section, the back of it, that is going to be pressed down. So this is going to be embossed on the top, and if you use the bottom section, that's debossed. And you might be thinking, what is she talking about? But you'll see in a minute. So in order to give us the look, the sanded look, I'll just show you. So see the sanded look there? You need to have the embossed section, because you're going to then rub over it with sandpaper and take off some of the color to give you that white look. So you have to make sure that you determine which side you want to have embossed. So in this case, I'm going with the lighter outside, but I want to have the dark red showing here. I could go and have it matchy-matchy with the light color. Actually, now that I think about it, see, that one's all matchy-matchy. I was just thinking I might try that. I haven't tried that before, so we'll try that on this one. We'll go the other way around. We'll go light. Change it up a bit. So now if I put them in this way, so again, the word Stampin' Up's at the top. This is going to be the raised part, and that's going to be the debossed part. And so it's such a large die that I can put all 4 pieces in. So I could have gone ahead and embossed this first and then cut the pieces, but I wanted to show you how it all fits, okay? So we're going to do this the other way around and see how that looks. So we're going to put that into my die cutting embossing machine. Now the sandwich you need the number 1, and it tells you on here how to stack it. So we're doing this part using a 3D embossing folder. So we got number 1, we got our embossing folder with the folded side at the top, and then we've got number 4 plate for the embossing. Now you don't line them up perfectly, you want them to be staggered because it'll go through the plate better. So it's not all the way lined up, but you have to make sure the section with your cardstock is covered top and bottom. Otherwise it won't give you the pressure to cut it. So that's our sandwich. I'm going to go die cut that and come back. I'm not die cut, sorry. So used to die cutting. I'm going to go emboss that and come back. So here I am back, and let's just leave those in place as I take it off. All right. So you can see that section where the word Stampin' Up! Has been raised. So that's embossed. And if you turn it over, that is pressed down, which was from the bottom, and that's debossed. So to get the effect, we need to sand the embossed section. There's nothing raised up on that bottom. If we were to sand the bottom, we would be getting those big squares and stuff showing up, but we want to have the lines showing up. So you could try either way. So now I'm just going to get a bit of scrap paper out for the next section because, as you can probably see on my scrap paper, when you sand it, some color comes off. And I don't want to get color all over my glass plate. So you can use, if you have a sanding block, sometimes you can buy craft ones, but what I'm using is just a bit of sandpaper that I got at Miter 10. Now this is actually 800, P800, so it's super, super fine sandpaper. You don't want to use, well, you could use thicker stuff, but you probably rip too much and it won't look as good. And I've just separated different ones for the different colors because, as you see, it does come off. So if I were sanding this with the piece that I'd use to sand the green, I'm going to get some green showing up on the red. So you can either just hold it in your fingers and sand it like that. And you can see straight away we got some color coming off. Or if you want, you can wrap it around a block and do it that way. So grab whatever block you have. I've got a small one here. And then you cut a piece of the sandpaper and then just wrap it around the block. And I'm just going to hold the edges of that wrapped around the block. And that gives me a flatter surface. And then you can cover more of it. And when I first started doing this, I was doing it in a circular motion. But the other times I did it, I found actually going straight. See how you get more sanded off there, where this was the circular motion, and that's the straight motion. So it's up to you the look you want, but I'm also turning it a bit so I get different sections are sanded away. And you can see that different sides, different parts of it, depending on how raised it is. And you don't want to push too hard because you don't want to push down that part. And let's see what happens if I try the back side. There we go. I'm just going to see this because I hadn't tried that before. Okay, so that's interesting. So the back only has some thin lines that stick up. So that's the look you get there, where the front that had the word Stampin' Up on the embossing folder has the thicker lines. So it depends on what kind of look you want. But I'm going to stick with the way I was planning to do it. And just do, and so the more you do, the more color you're going to take off, and the more different it's going to look. So this is one of those techniques where not everything's going to look exactly the same. And see how much red I'm getting on there. You also want to move your sandpaper around a bit because if you get too much sanding in one spot, it's not going to be doing its job. You're going to wear out the sandpaper, and it's not going to sand anything off. So I'm just going different directions. Up, down, sideways, whatever works for you. See, that one looks much more sanded than this one here. So it's whatever look you want to achieve. And just turn it around. And so this works with any embossing folder, but you're only going to get the white look if you're using the two-tone white core cardstock that's just come out from Stampin' Up. It's a new item. So I'm going to take that off, and see, that's been used up a bit, but this hasn't. So I'm just going to use my fingers and sand a bit with my fingers just to bring out a few of the areas that I want to bring out. There we go. So I think that looks pretty good. This is one of those things you could be doing for ages, just to make it look the way you want. All right. Probably bouncing around the video. Sorry about that. So I'm just bringing out a bit more on those darker lines. The other thing is it does get a lot of color on the cardstock, and you do get a lot of color on your fingers. It's just dust. It's not staining like when you use ink, but there is going to be some on there. So if you're going to do another project, make sure you do this on a piece of paper that you can move away for your next project. So I'm just dusting a bit of this off. It'd probably be a good idea to have a brush here, but you can probably see in the video that quite a bit of red came off. All right. But my fingers aren't really very red, but there's little bits of dust. Okay, so now that you've got that done, bring your base back in. And the nice thing with this, even if you'd popped your box together, because it's not glued, you can always flatten it out again. So it's a very forgiving box. And then we're just going to glue those down on top of the white parts. And, you know, you could, if you had a die that had a pattern, I was trying this with, not a die, an embossing folder. So I was trying this with the tree embossing folder. The trees look really good. Sand it back. You would want the trees to be upright. So when you're sticking this down, remember the outside edge is the top, upright, and the center is the bottom of the box. So if this was something that had a specific orientation, like I said, those trees, you definitely would want the base of the tree down towards the center section and the top of the tree toward the outside edge. But these do not. So I'm just going to pop them down willy-nilly. But if you were wanting like to match them up, you know, ones that were next to each other, you could do that. But I'm just popping them down for the sake of the video. Anyway. And there's that one. So the box itself is just about complete. Put this last panel on. So then the cherry on the top, so to speak, is the bow that I'm going to show you how to make. Now I love the Take a Bow die. I've already done a video with lots of things that you can do with the die that are not just bows. So have a look at the video I did in September for lots of other ideas on how to use the Take a Bow die. See, look, I smeared a bit of red over here. There must have been a bit of glue sticking out because there's some red smeared there, but that's okay. So you can always turn it over and then just rub on the back to get it nice and press down. Then you might not have that smearing issue that I just had. So that's the box basically done. So we can put our lid on, and there's a box. So that's the lighter base and the lighter on the inside and the darker on the top. So kind of an interesting looking box, but we want to make it look even better. So we're going to make a bow. So I'm going to take this and die cut it with that piece, and I will get 6 sections. Now to do the big bow like I've got here, you actually need to die cut 2 pieces. So you need to have either run 2 pieces through, or with the DSP being so thin, I can put 2 sheets together and run 2 sheets through at one time to get all the pieces I need for that. So I'm going to go do that now and come back and show you how to make the bow. So one interesting thing I discovered after making lots of these, so I've run it through with the Take a Bow die, and I've done 2 strips. So I've done 2 sections in one go. But when you do that, you end up with one end that looks like a banner. So that could be used on a card, or even maybe decorating the top edge of your box. You could use that section, the leftover pieces. But I'm not going to use those at the moment. So when you run that through, now I did 2, so I've got 2 small pieces. I should have 4 medium pieces. So just have to pop them apart. 1, 2, and I should have 6 large pieces. And that's how you make the nice big full bow as shown in the catalog. There's my 4. Now to make that bow, you don't need 2 of the small ones. You only use 1 for the center. That's the odd one out. So the smallest one gets put together, glued together as a circle, which we'll do last so we can make sure it fits. And then that piece you don't need. But I'll show you what you can do with it. The other pieces all get stuck together the same way. So I'm going to show you how to do a few of them, and then I'll finish them up off camera, so you don't have to watch me doing them all. So there's a couple techniques. Now the other video I have that you can look at in September, which is the Take a Bow Stampin' Up, and it explains all the different things you can do with this Take a Bow die. I suggest you use glue dots, and I show you how to do this using glue dots. But the other thing is you can use liquid glue, which I have, and it gets a bit sticky after a while, or you can use tear and tape. So for this one, I'm going to show you the tear and tape method. If you want to see the other method, go ahead and watch my other video to see how to do that. So you first need to determine what the top is going to be. And this one, I want it to be the green and red berries, because I want to add some green into there. So I'm actually going to turn everything upside down so I don't forget what I'm doing. I've already done a bow with that side, which I showed you earlier. So the side that you want to be showing up is down. Then take a little bit of tear and tape, and you can just simply put it across the top section, pointy section, just at an angle, and you'll see why I'm doing it at an angle in a minute. And it's actually got this interesting shape. So there's a straight bit and 2 angled sides, and that looks the same there. Now the way we put it together, I'll explain how you can line it up properly with those sections. So first I'm just going to peel that tear and tape off, or the top of the tear and tape off. Take your other side and you simply twist it round, and then the side of it, the right hand side, is going to come straight onto the top of the inside, and the top is going to go onto the left hand side of the bottom one. So I'll do this a few times so you can see what I'm doing and follow along. And that gives us our shape. So this is the inside of the bow. That's the outside of the bow. Okay, so we'll do another one just to show you. So that's the outside, that's the inside. Put your tape at an angle, about there. Once you do a few of them, you'll know where you need to put your adhesive. So grabbing the top section, and then when you go towards the bottom, you simply twist it, and then bring the side to the top and the top to that side. So we'll bring it up. And with liquid glue, you can wiggle it into place. However, this section is going to be pretty much hidden. It's going to be hidden unless somebody were to turn it over. So it doesn't matter if it's not exactly perfectly straight. Okay? And you don't want to squish the end. You want it to stay like that. And then I tend to just, until I do the rest of it, I just put them together so I know which sides I have. Because once they're all looking like that, it's kind of hard to tell. So let's do a couple of the small ones. So tape there. Grab your top section and just simply twist it over. It's really easy to do because it's designer series paper. And just let it sit. Just pretty much puts itself into place. Okay, this one I'll try to do closer to the camera because I'm busy watching what I'm doing and not watching what you're seeing. So tape across there. So we got our tape. You could do some glue dots, which is what I show in my other video. And then this section here, you simply twist it over. Don't worry about the top at the moment, but once you line up your side and edge, it just naturally forms that loop. Okay? Now there's other types of bows you can make with these strips, and as I said, my other video I show you lots of things, and some aren't even bows that you can use with this die. So I'm going to finish the rest off camera and then show you how to put the bow together. Okay, so that's them done. Now I like to pile them up like that because if you leave them loose everywhere, you get confused as to what size is what size. But if you pile them in, you can immediately see this one is much smaller. So keeping them in their groups makes it easier. So I should have 6 large ones. Those are all the same size. And 4 small ones. A medium size and 1 small one. So the next step is you need to put them together in pairs. So again, you can use tear and tape, you could use liquid glue, whatever you want. So you want to stick them together, put your tape on one of them. So these are my large, those are my mediums. And then you just want to overlap them. Now, depending on how far in or far out you do it, you're going to get a different tightness of your bow. And let me see if I can show a sample. So this one is very tight. See how close it is there? And then I think this one's a bit looser. So you see some more of the inside. So depending on how you want your bow to look. Again, I've done this a few times, so I pretty much know. I've got to check those are the same size. Roughly where to put adhesives. Now, again, this part's not really going to be seen. So you want them to be opposite each other, which usually, like if you use liquid glue, it makes it pretty easy to do. But eyeballing it is pretty good as well. So put your tape just on that section there, and then grab the matching one and just overlap them. Okay. And just kind of eyeball it. So they're all roughly about the same size, and then we do it with the medium ones. I'm just going to put the tape on 2 of them to make it quicker. So you got your tape, peel it off. Yep. And then put one that doesn't have tape over it. Just straight across. And then the same with the last one. So now we just need to layer things up. And that's what's going to make the fullness of the bow. Because right now it's not really looking much like a bow, is it? So we got 3 and we have 2 here. So what we're going to do with 3 is we're going to angle them. So they're going to be stuck together at an angle. So it's going to come together like that. And the 2, because we only have 2, we're going to go straight across from each other. And then slip that into there. So, because I know they're going straight across, I'm just going to put the tape there. And I'm going to do an X. So another piece of tape here, just to give it that extra stickiness, so it's going to stay where it needs to be. So I've basically done an X in the middle, and so this one you just want it to go straight across. That's the medium size. So the one that you only have cut 4 of, that you did 2 sections, there's a medium size. And in my other video I mentioned that would be, you know, a nice little lolly container. You could even put maybe a block or something in there. Have your holder for your glue. So even that on its own is quite cute. So now I want to do these in 3s. So I'm just going to put some tape across there. And I'll put an X on this one as well. Doesn't matter if I don't stick it, if what I put down doesn't cover all the tape, because eventually there's going to be enough layers covering everything. So I want one to go at an angle. So I'm going to put that at an angle, but I'm not going to push it hard down because I want to make sure I can fit the other one in the other section. So this is where you just need to fiddle with it a bit. So instead of pushing down on that one, I'm going to put the tape on the back of this guy. And then I don't have to worry about pressing that one down if I'm not happy with where it is at the moment. So I'll put the tape there. And then we're going to see if I can slip that guy in. Yeah, I think I kind of like the way that one looks. All right, so just give it a press. And again, that's almost like a little lolly bowl you've got there. Okay, then this one has to go in the middle. So we'll put some tape on the back there because it's a bit too fiddly to try to get in the center. And again, we'll go with our X marks the spot. Peel it off. Nearly done. I'm having trouble peeling. There we go. And then another piece over there. So we got an X on the back. There we go. And now this one, we don't want to go directly opposite, because if we do that, that's going to slip inside and you're going to lose that part of the bow. So you want to do it at a bit of a strange angle so it's not actually going to slip underneath any of those bigger ones. So you do it kind of trying to fit in there at an angle. When you're happy with that, you just press it down. Okay. Now it naturally wants to curve the other way. So now once you're happy with how that looks, you get your last little bit, which is going to be your circle for the inside. So you can stick it down and then shove it in, or you can roughly measure it and see what is the best size for the center of yours, because it will vary depending on how you put it. Put your tape on one of the sections, and this one is just going to curve over. So we're just going to curve it over till it touches the tape. Sometimes I like to line this one up. See the edges? The two edges, this side and that side. And sometimes I like to line that up with the two sides on the other piece. Depends on how small you want your circle to be. There's my circle. And then I'm going to put a piece of tape on that area that I just glued. And then this is the fiddly part. Now, again, it's your choice if you want it to go straight, but I like to do it at an angle. So when you pop it down, it's going at an angle, so not straight across. And then if you have skinny enough fingers, you can get in there and press without destroying it, or you can bring your bone folder in and give it a bit of a press. That's why I prefer using the glue dots or the tear and tape, because trying to get in there with glue, it's a mess. Okay, now that is going to be on the top of our box. However, we have this piece left over. Now you could just, ignore that piece, but what I found is if you fold it in half and then snip it in half. Actually, we don't even need to snip that in half. So once it's folded in half, cut through the middle. We're going to flag this. So we're going to cut through the middle, and then we're going to come from one corner to that cut, and then we're going to come from one corner. I'm trying to do this on camera and look at what I'm doing. Not the easiest. To the center of that cut. Okay, and because I cut straight through, I didn't do it quite enough. I've got the two bits. So that's going to make it look like the tails of my bow. So for this, I'm just going to put a bit of tape. Again, so if you've noticed the theme, the tape always goes onto that section of the pieces. Now you could, if you want, mix up your bow and have some areas out like that and some like that. So it's up to you what you want to do. You could do it all solid color with cardstock. If you do the bow with cardstock, it's best to use your bone folder to loosen up the cardstock a bit. So I'm just going to stick this. Looks like that's a good spot for it. I'm just pressing that in place so it looks like that's the tail of the bow coming out. So like if I'd wrapped it, proper wrapping. And I think I want to put this one over here. So I'm just pressing from the back onto there. And so there's my bow, and here's my box. Now the easiest way I find to make it stick on the box, you could do tear and tape, but because it's kind of bulging itself, I find dimensionals are better. So, and dimensionals will also help to hold things in place. So a few dimensionals strategically placed on the back will be able to hold your bow in place. And then our box will be sufficiently decorated. So let's get that dimensional piece off. And I think I had one more. Yep, one more. So then, oop, I squished the middle. So then you can just strategically place it if you want it straight that way or at an angle, however you'd like it. Press it down and those dimensionals should grab. You can take the top off and just get in there and press a bit if you're worried about the dimensionals not sticking. Okay, so there we go. So that is a 4x4 inch explosion box made with the new two-tone cardstock from Stampin' Up. Oh, I think my bow is a little off center, but that's okay. So there you go. So when you take the lid off, it pops open and you can have lots of messages and things inside there. So let me show you a couple samples of what you can do with the inside of the box. Okay, so that's that box with the two-tone. I'll pop that aside. So this is one I did, and I used the ephemera pieces to decorate the outside. So that's the bow at the top, the box. This one was just made with real red cardstock, and with the ephemera pack I put the wreaths on the side, and then you can have a look when it opens up. There we go. So I've decorated each side differently. I've got some ephemera all around, so you could put like messages or photos in there. I popped them up on dimensionals, used some ribbon, and then this is that same cardstock, but I know that these sections here are 4 inches square, and remember the part that we put in the white was 3.5 inches square. So if you want, you cut a piece of cardstock to 3.5 inches and then cut the diagonal, and then you've got the two, or you can flip it over and have mix matching pieces. And then I just made a little platform in the center with another bit of designer series paper. I basically sort of made like the lid of a box, but I had an extra bit that I glued down on the bottom. And then I did a Christmas tree from our new tree dies and decorated that. So hopefully you can see the tree there. And then I cut, the words were from the ephemera pack, and the gifts were cut out of one of the little bits from that pack as well. So you can see how it turns into a nice explosion card that you could, you know, put photos in, messages, etc. You could have little pockets to slide things in. So that's the final use for that box, besides having a gift in it if you want. We'll close that up. And then I will show you another sample. Just to show you, so this is the box what we made, right? And it's quite a big box because you see, here's a mug. It easily fit a mug inside there. So it easily fits a mug. And then you could have some decorations on the side once they pick it up. So you could easily put, you know, gift things in there, or you could do the decorating like what I showed you. So I'll show you the first explosion box I made. I think it was nearly 2 years ago. Is this one here, and this is done out of cardstock. This one was with the designer series paper and cardstock, and I made this for my my youngest daughter's 21st birthday, and she's nearly 23 now. So a lot of the stuff in this pack is retired, but you can slip the bow off. Also on the bottom, I actually stuck a heart to hold down the ribbon, so instead of untying it. So this one here just shows you extras that you can do. So on the edges of the box, I cut the hearts, so I didn't leave them square as they were, so I cut hearts. I printed off photos of her through the years, and then, oh, it's upside down. I put messages there, that's embossed, that made a little pocket. So the same with that diagonal, do that diagonal, and then you can create a pocket to put messages in. This one was a die that Stampin' Up! Had that you could put things in, and I had $21 in there. And then in the center, I've created a cake. Oh, it's fallen down a bit. A cake with a tea light. There we go, that's better. So 21 happy birthday on the side there, and there's her picture in the middle, and this I put magnets to hold it in place, as well as so I could turn the tea light on to decorate. So lots of things that you can do with that explosion box. So this is exactly the same as what I showed you. It's a 12 by 12 inch piece of cardstock, but this has all been decorated up and the edges come together. And as you can see, there's still plenty of room to put something on the inside. So I hope you enjoyed that project, and I'd love to see any that you decide to create. Send me pictures in the comments. You can contact me through michellekritchley.stampinup.net, and we will just bring in some of these options so you can see the different types of boxes that I had fun showing you. So thanks so much for watching. Please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to see more videos, and remember, in the description I will have all these current products that I showed you. The only thing that I won't have is the sandpaper, because that's not a Stampin' Up! Product. You just need to go to your Mitre 10 or Bunnings or some hardware store. I suggest getting the higher number. The higher the number, the finer the sandpaper is. You don't want a low number because it'll rub off too much of the cardstock. You want a fine sandpaper to do this technique. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.